Welcome, everybody, to our weekly live stream, Think Outside the Blocks, with your host, today being me, at least for the moment, all by myself here at Think Outside the Blocks. The reason for it being Ben Solo Edition, which isn't always necessarily, the worst thing in the world, just means we get some extra opinions. Maybe we'll uh, wrap the show up a little earlier than normal. Who knows? But Mark is on his way home from his vacation. As you recall, last week when we were on, Mark popped in from somewhere in the Caribbean um, to say hi, and we kind of said, "Mark, what are you doing? You're supposed to be on vacation. You're not supposed to be here with us this week." So a little bit of a role reversal. Instead of being on this week, he ended up being on last week. However, I do have some Lego things to cover today. Mark is actually on a plane descending into the Chicagoland area, so it's possible he might be able to pop on in a little bit. But even if he doesn't, we'll still have a good show and some stuff to talk about. What we're going to talk about today is sort of some of our usual stuff. Think outside the blocks. We're very heavy into mocks and mock building. And today I was at the founders event, which is sort of like a Patreon group almost in a sense, for our local bricks and minifigs store, which is having its grand opening next week. And the owner invited some local Lego builders to come in and show some mocks. So I have some pictures of some of the mocks that were at on display that we can talk about a little bit. And then there is, perhaps no surprise to many, some additional Lego news. We have a few pictures of some new sets that we can cover as well. But like always, we always encourage you to keep the show visible on YouTube and everywhere else. And the best way to do that is to like and subscribe. That'll let you know when we're going live with the live stream, as well as telling you when we post some new videos. Mark and I are both planning to post some additional videos on the Brick World YouTube channel this coming year, focusing again around mock building and techniques, Lego techniques as well. But anytime that we're here and having fun, uh, we always encourage plenty of interaction with our chat. Our chat, of course, known as The Tainted. And we already have some pre-play gang here. Rob Claxton saying hey to everyone at 6:10, full hour before we were on the show. Lego Team B checking in right as the show starts, giving a shout out back to Rob. We also get a good day back from Rob to Team B. Bill Bartley's checking in, as well as the Brick Orphanage. So we've got a lot of our regulars checking in to see how we're doing today. In a minute here, we will get into some of the mocks and some of the pictures I took uh, at the show. So if you give me a minute, we will pull some of that up. I think what's um, cool about this particular Bricks and Minifigs store is the owners are very interested in the community of builders. And I think part of that is because um, I don't know that the owner's necessarily a born and bred Lego man, but I believe his son, who is quite into the hobby, is one of the driving forces behind sort of his interest in the Bricks and Minifigs brand. So I have a couple pictures of some of the mocks they have there, as well as some of, I think, the attitude about Bricks and Minifigs that they've brought to this new store that I think aligns well with what Mark and I are all about when we talk about building. So while I pull up some pictures here, let me just say that the grand opening for the store is set to be next Saturday, February 3rd. normally it would feel like a dangerous thing to open a bricks and minifig store or any store, do a grand opening in the winter in Minnesota. But it has been extremely, and I do mean extremely mild this winter. We currently don't have any snow on the ground at all here in Minnesota, which is almost unheard of in late January. But that's where we're at. So, because of that factor, hopefully it will be a good event. Um, as always, or what's become popular with a lot of bricks and minifig type stores, is to bring in a Lego master to talk about their experiences as well as just um, discuss the hobby in general. Of course, one of the nice things about Lego Masters is that they are indeed very much mock driven as well. So because of that, uh, they really do a lot to promote what we like to do, which is use creativity to build um, our own designs. Bill says, Minnesotans are a hardy bunch. We are indeed, but even so, if you end up with 6 inches of snow on the day when they're opening and the plows haven't had a chance to go out yet, you might have a disappointing opening. Let's just say that. So I think very fortunate, sort of, with the way that this has happened to pan out for them. With I don't know if it's El Nino. Maybe someone in the chat can tell me why it is that we're having such mild winter here in the upper Midwest, but we certainly are. So it has definitely been a very um, warm winter for sure. So let me share my screen here and we can take a look at a few of the photos that I snapped when I was over at Bricks and Minifigs today. So here we go. The first one here, I like this. I don't know if this is in all the Bricks and Minifigs store, but at least in ours. There's a saying up on the wall that it's a place to spark joy and creativity. And you can see here a nice mix of sets that are now retired or at least no longer uh, primarily found in Lego stores as being on the shelf here. So we've got some old Harry Potter sets. This dungeon one over here from Ninjago caught my eye. I thought that this one, which they sort of tried to do like a board game type feel um, to it, was maybe not the you know most exciting version of Ninjago, but the sets themselves had a lot of nice design. Uh, Far darker, I guess, than some of the other ones, but I really liked the color palette and sort of these evil sets. The skull, the sort of 3D skull face shape in the dungeon on this one, I always thought was a really cool set. So this is the kind of thing that you can find at a place like Bricks and Minifigs, and they're usually fairly reasonably priced, or at least they follow a lot of the Bricklink type prices pretty well. Brick Orphanage says, our annual snow order got misshipped to Iowa. Perhaps. I don't know. Is Iowa overrun? I think I did hear something about that. That perhaps the snow bands are just tracking a little farther south than they normally do. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that it's towards the end of January already, and we have no snow on the ground. Here's another picture I snapped of some brick shell cases. I know Mark and I talked quite a bit about brick shell last week, so you can see a variety of different brick shell options, different size cases and wall cases and stands, and that will all be available at the Bricks and Minifigs type stores. I also happened to, when I was there bringing some of my mocks in, run into one of the two guys that is operating brick shell. I think Mark's met the other one, so I think we've each met one of the two guys, and we were discussing some of the cool items and what I thought might be particularly interesting or big in the Lego community for brick shell cases. So we talked about brick shell. last week. They'll be readily available at some bricks and minifigs, at least. At least my local store will have them. Perhaps some others will as well. And then here at the store, one of the main or most exciting parts about going to a bricks and minifigs is that you can buy individual bricks, individual minifigs, and also a number of sets that you can buy, trade, and sell. And so here's a nice little variety of some of the sets that they have available. I would note here, of course, for me, I was immediately drawn to a few of the castle sets that we have along the bottom here. It looks like no minifigs in Helm's Deep, which is a little disappointing. I'm sure that's where most of the value for the set actually lies. But they do have minifigs over here in the Goblin King battle. I don't know if there's all of them, but I see Gandalf over here. I see the big Goblin King, a couple other ones. So you can find this type of thing as well. We've got a slightly older pirate ship, a nice little dinosaur, a train. We've got Wally looking fun over here. So lots of the popular retired sets. We have the inside or the upside down over here from Stranger Things. So a good variety of sets that you can no longer find or that you may have missed out on that you can buy, trade, and sell there, as everyone may expect. Here's a little farther onto that shelf, same thing. Lots of cars down here, lots of the car sets and architecture. And of course, one of the more exciting parts about these stores is that as they sell an item, they will purchase and buy others. And so you might see this stuff here one week, and a couple of weeks later, it'll turn over and be a bunch of other stuff. So lots of cool stuff there. This I wanted to mention in particular. Once again, we were talking about brick shell last week, and one of the big brick shell cases they're doing is for the Avengers Tower. So here you can see the Avengers Tower in the flesh inside the display case. They're actually raffling this one off for the grand opening, but you can kind of get a feeling for how big this thing is and how well it displays with a nice background art and everything else in it. They also had one for Gringotts. I think I got that picture as well. I did. So there's Gringotts also in a brick shell case on the side there. I don't know if the Apollo rocket's for sale there or not, but you can see a number of other sets down here, used sets that are up for sale. So lots of excitement for me around being able to go to this particular store that's located close to me. But they've got a space in this particular building as well that they're going to use for party rooms, and at least for the grand opening, they will be using to host a number of mocks. And so I have some of my mocks there, as well as a few other people. So I'll take you through a quick tour of what some of the local builders have brought to that particular room. It's fun, of course, just like going to Brick World or anywhere else, to find people who are very interested, especially Founders Club members. Like I said, it's kind of like Patreon for a bricks and minifig store, who come in who really want to see what is possible with brick. They'll be picking up some brick of their own, of course, to do mocking. Lots of discussions about certain techniques, all the stuff that we really go get excited about when we do all of the shows for Brick World. So if we want to take a look at a few of the things I have here, let's see here. Bob Claxon adds, I know Bricks and Minifigs in Greenville, South Carolina let the local lug hold different events there. Yeah, what's kind of become evident in the Twin Cities is that Twin Lug has become massive. I don't know if it's 100% because of COVID or if it's because the group itself, this particular group at Twin Lug, is very kind of loosey-goosey. They don't have a lot of events that they do or a lot of formality to the meetings. we mostly share Lego news and community and not much else. So the size of the group is now, 50 plus strong. Um, so they have a party room there, which I'm sure would be good for birthday parties and other community gathering events. There's no way we could hold an entire twin lug meeting in that space, but it is a decent place to be able to display mocks. One of the other things that this particular store is doing as well is promoting um, mock building by having a front display, window display, where they'll be rotating out builds for the public to see some of what can be done in Lego. If you want to buy individual bulk parts or whatever else you happen to want to do in there. So we can take a look here at my screen again. Take a look at some of the mocks that were featured at the build, and there's not a lot of them. We do have some Lego news to get to as well, some new sets that dropped, or some new set images that dropped that we'll take a look at as well. But here are some of what was being displayed at the Brixton Minifigs location. So this first set of mocks is from a member of Twin Lug. His name is Max. He's really into Vic Vipers, if you can't tell. He's a big Viper guy. This particular Viper back here, this pink one, we'll get a shot of the pink one next to it as well. It's been super popular with this sort of hot air balloon like looking bulbous engine a bit. And this is sort of an updated one with the newer hot air balloon pieces. They used to have an older hot air balloon piece. I think that was just 2 pieces, or maybe it was actually it's not a hot air balloon piece. It's the domes for I think the Adventurer set or Adventurer set. They have a very old Middle Eastern type vibe to them. Or maybe sort of the onion shaped turret, I guess, look in that same pink color or dark pink color as well that we'll get to in a second. The hangar here, as you'll notice, is built with these old large Lego panels. They're pretty seamlessly connected to make a pretty easy and quick large paneled wall. So I think this is a fun and good technique. It's nicely finished on the side here as well. There's not a bunch of odd gaps to the way this was built, but an interesting way to quickly build a wall if you happen to have an old piece like this around. The Vipers themselves are pretty classic. Also, I'm always a fan if you have a mock like this and you plan to bring it to Brick World or to anywhere to display, being able to put it inside or on a base always adds that extra element of finish to it, of polish that makes people really want to see what you've built. So I highly recommend even small builds like this have something, really anything to sort of frame the mock and give it sort of the idea of where it is or what you want it to be doing. I think I'm going the wrong way here, so let me go the other way. Here we go. So this is a mock from the owner's son. You tell it's a early castle mock here. It's got a lot of similar elements to one of my mocks. So I'm going to have to talk to him a bit about this one to see if some of what I did inspired him here. And what I'm talking about in particular, and we'll get to the one that I built, is the water technique here. Is very similar to the Falcon Fortress that I built, as well as the kind of the rocky, craggy shore that leads up into the little castle area here. You can also see it's one of the newer goats with the newer goat herder back here in this build as well. So the Brixton, the collectible minifigs goat is already making a triumphant return to mocks really early on. So let's compare this particular mock to the one of the ones that I've displayed in there. Let's see here. Let's make sure we don't find anything too strange in my pictures here. I knew I took one. Where is it? Okay, I might have to send it to myself here. While I'm doing that, actually, I'll just pull it up on Flickr here so that we can kind of do a quick split screen of it here. But this technique, a lot of this technique is very similar to, and I don't know when he built these, so maybe I'll get some insight into that. But it's very similar to this build that I did here. And for me, um, it's not bad or annoying to see someone borrowing your techniques. In fact, for me, it's part of the reason that I do it is that I want people to be able to uh, see what I've done and put their own spin on it. It's the whole reason that Mark and I have really been into the live stream. So I think it's actually not a bad thing at all to see things like that. So, okay, this is not the right place for this. So it excites me actually more than anything else to see that kind of thing going on. So any chat? And I have it open here. I don't see a lot of chat going on. So anybody have any ideas or thoughts on what you think or see when someone borrows a technique that you've demonstrated in a build? Do you crave credit? Does it upset you? Do you feel the same way I do, which is, it's really part of the reason that you do the builds in the first place? How does it make you feel? So you can think about answering that question here while I try to pull up one of the pictures that I took, which I'm now struggling desperately to find, of this. Oh, here it is. This will work. Of the mock that I did, that's very similar. So if I open it up here, we can see that I built this particular mock on the far right here. So we'll zoom in on that one. You can see a lot of the techniques I used on this one. We can do a little side by side here, maybe even. Look at how fancy we're getting here. A little side by side here to sort of see some of the similarities in technique that were used here. So got the black border, much like the black border on the mock that I produced. We've got the brick-built boat, as well as the water with the tile over the plates to sort of give it the different depth. So I think that it's kind of a very similar technique in that regard. We also have sort of the shore landing with the path leading up to a castle. So a lot of similar elements, obviously done at different scales, but sort of a scaled down version of something very similar. So let's see here. Lego Team B says, kudos, a great attitude on sharing knowledge. Yeah, thank you. I think that should be what people strive for, because if you're sharing your mocks, what else are you expecting, right? I mean, that should be what people hope for. I'm not saying that everyone needs to have the same attitude I do. They could say, if I designed something or I built something, I would love for you to give me credit or whatever the case is. But for me, it's less critical, I guess. Let's see here. Lego Team B says, in my YouTube videos, I always try to include credits, links, etc. on anything that provides inspiration. Again, I think that's the best practice, but this wasn't even shared online or anything. It's just I happen to be able to see it firsthand. And so it's, interesting to me that I'm like, something I produced in here is inspiring another young builder. You can also see, like some of the roofing techniques I used over here shared on this roof on the side here. So my sort of the dragon tooth roof, as we call it, with the shieldy pieces, sort of the same thing over here. So, pretty clear to me that that this builder's been able to pull some inspiration from what I was displaying there. Let's see. Brick Orphanage says, I hope if I display a technique, they also come up with a way to improve it, and then I can borrow and iterate on their iteration, right? So always a good way to continue the hobby. And I think that's part of it too. When I first started posting things on Eurobricks a number of years ago, um, I would say that the level of mock that I was producing, the level of mock other people were producing, was not nearly as detailed as they are now. Of course, as you learn techniques, as new parts come out, um, you know, lots of new techniques and building inspirations do come through. So it is fun to see the iteration on the iteration on the iteration. Uh, Bill says, I don't have to worry about that one. Anyone over years old will borrow my building style. That anyone over 8 years old will borrow my building style. Well, um, you know, hey, if you can inspire the 8-year-olds too, who knows, right? That's worth something in its own. But I borrow from all of you. Well, again, that's what we want to accomplish, or what we hope to accomplish on something like Think Outside the Box, is the ability to actually share some of the love and technique, and for Mark and I, to be able to critique each other, uh, to enhance a build. One of the things in particular on this particular build, or on this build on the right here that I did, and actually I can kind of cover a few of the things here that Mark really helped me with. But I have, as you can see, sort of where my pointer is going here, this kind of nicely textured corner bead on each side of the tower that I did. Originally, the reason that these kind of look the way they do, originally, where the two walls met, I had this fully rounded over Technic column piece here, this Technic connector, I guess, going all the way up to the top. And it served the ability to actually build the walls at an angle, right? Because otherwise, if they're both square, they run into each other and they don't fit. And when Mark was looking at it, he said, it really, he said it really felt like a rain gutter almost, as opposed to natural. So after a few new pieces came out, in particular, I was able to change some of it up. You can still see a bit of the rain gutter down here by the window, but I thought that was kind of more of a feature than anything else. But really gave me the inspiration to change this up and really improve the mock, just something simple like that. Another inspiration that Mark gave me on one of the streams, as we were talking about this mock over here. Originally, this tower started basically 1 or 2 bricks in from the edge of the wall here, and these windows were pushed right up against the edge of the wall as well. And that really gave it sort of a shunted look. Like, architecturally speaking, it would never be done where the window's right on the corner like I had it. So after some discussion, I pushed it out just a couple of studs, and that really changed sort of the overall feel and look of the mock. It's just little things like that. When you talk to a friend or someone that you trust, that can give you a lot of good ideas and inspiration for how to change or update a mock. Let's see, in addition to these here, another builder that I wanted to take a look at were these perspective arcade builds from Matt Leota and his son Murphy. They're kind of cool. They have like a Jurassic Park type arcade game here in the middle, and then of course through the window arcade, you can see on the other side, they actually show like what's happening in game. And then over here on the right, for example, there's a game with a rowing machine. So you're like, paddling down the rapids or something. And they have kind of cords coming off the paddles into the game. And then on the other side, you can actually see the boat being rowed down the river. Lots of other fun little arcade cabinets here. I'm guessing some of the stickers and names are from some of the custom build places, some of the custom printers or whatever else. But really a cool set of various arcade games. I think this game where you'd actually sit inside like a ball bubble, the gyrosphere from the Jurassic World games, would actually be really fun. So I would love to actually see an arcade game that uses something like that, if it exists. And then you can see game screens. with the picture, so you can kind of look inside and see what's going on those. So some cool mocks. There's another set of builds that I want to show quickly. Let me find them. From I heard my headset go out there, so I don't think anybody missed anything there. I paused so that I could stop and correct there. So let me show you these two other builds that were on display, and then we can get into some Lego news. So let me show this one first here. This is the classic M-Tron, or a classic M-Tron build in classic M-Tron colors with some newer wheels on it. This is the kind of um, build that I really like because it's very nostalgic, and yet it has a lot of updates in terms of size and technique, and just sort of interesting stuff. Some people are really into M-Tron still. I did like the magnets and the magnet feature. Those magnets were very powerful. In fact, too powerful, which is why I think they stopped producing them. I think they were a hazard for for anyone who would swallow them. They'd end up, pinching intestines and things like that inside the stomach. So Lego sort of started shying away from the stronger magnets and moving on to ones that weren't as actually basically ended magnets. I don't know that they use them much at all anymore. Um, for a while, they were producing obviously magnets for like the refrigerator, and they had two by four bricks with magnetic bits on the inside. I got a number of those not to use as magnets on my fridge, but to interact with the M-Tron magnets to be able to pick up other things that didn't really work as well for the didn't work as well with the actual rounded M-Tron magnet. Magnets inside of something, for example, um, were practical for using that. As much as I say that those magnets were really strong, did anyone else besides me own was it the first version of the Imperial Star Destroyer where the underside was attached via magnets? And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's over time, magnets, lose some of their magnetism. I don't know. Maybe someone knows a technical explanation in the chat. Um, but over time, the magnets sort of weakened, or perhaps the clutch power on the between the brick and the magnet itself would wear down. I don't know what would happen, but they would actually flop off the bottom. Like the entire bottom panel of my Star Destroyer was always scraping on the ground. I don't know if anyone else experienced that or if everyone else's magnets are, perfectly happy to hold the bottom of the Star Destroyer up forever. But mine was no good at that. So it was always falling over. But anyway, I really liked the magnets. There was a lot of different things you could do with them. One of the things I did a lot on the mock side is I would use magnets to hold roofs on to various builds that I would do that would have an interior. So they were easy to just pull on and off to show what was on the inside. So I did a number of pirate mocks a few years ago. Actually, a few by now, I mean like 15 years ago, where you could just disconnect the entire roof by grabbing onto it and removing it from its magnetic counter. So it was a good technique and an interesting way to use magnets, but they're very rare and very hard to find now. So rare earth, rare to discover magnets. And then last but not least, we had this mock here, which is featuring the old Disney castle in the background here, but then sort of this Main Street Disneyland parade design. Obviously, it's still a work in progress, but you can see the floats on the railroad tracks coming down the pipe here, as well as all of these road plates that are connected nicely. It gives it a nice repeating, but very nice texture and pattern all the way up the roads on both sides. And then the little shops off to the sides that you can see when you're visiting Disneyland. So very, very big mock and very well done in terms of also being able to get the circular shapes back here with the fountain and everything else for something like Disney World. And the floats, obviously, not um, crazy done yet. They're still being worked on. But the shape itself, very reminiscent of what you might actually see at a float at Disney World for a base here. And then they'll probably build up from that. See, Brick Orphanage says, train guys still love the old magnets. Yes, use neodymium magnets between for a really strong connection. Yeah, so I suppose there's still a little bit of that. I think the newer ones, um, do they still use magnets in current train sets? I think they do, but they are not very strong. Is that accurate, Brick Orphanage? I don't think they're anything like the old ones. And I think they're built right into the bumper pieces as opposed um, to the separate piece on that. I did a mock a few years ago. We did a 1-to-1 scale potion shop, magic shop, and I had a cauldron that had 3 spinning rubber duckies in it, and the duckies were powered to make them spin underneath the cauldron by magnets. So I had one of those fridge magnets I was just talking about built into the bottom side of the rubber duck, and then there was a strong magnet on the inside that was rotating around in a circle on a Technic gear that would make the ducks kind of swirl around and joust inside the cauldron. It was a really fun mock, and another spot where using magnets was actually really practical for what I was trying to do, um, but not something you can do as easily anymore since Lego's really sort of strayed away from them. I think mostly because of the safety issues with using rare earth magnets, and I think a lot of people have had that issue, not just Lego. With people, for whatever reason, I guess you just see that small little black magnet, and it looks like a piece of candy or something. And kids would tend to put them in their mouths and swallow them, and maybe not just kids, maybe animals as well. I don't know. Orphanage says the new magnets are also rare earth, but they're inside a plastic housing, so they're not nearly as strong. So okay. So I think, again, probably because of the safety concerns, they've really tamped down the strength of those magnets, which made them not as exciting to use. So anytime I come across Mtron and I see the magnets, I always go, wish I had a few more. And of course, the other thing about them is all of the magnets I have are inside one pick brick cup, and they're all, attracted to each other. So they're just um, one big giant solid blob of magnetism right inside. At least they're easy to find. Well, I should say, is if you find one, you can find all of them, which is nice. I tend to disconnect them from their housing piece that holds them together, or I leave them on the ones that just connected on the side. That way they don't repel each other, and they all just kind of link up into one big chain inside my collection, so they're easy to come across. So there you go. There are different number of mocks at the place. A number of kids and adults came in to see some of the builds. Uh, one of the builds I had that was not particularly well visible in that picture is of my Orc Tower, which has not made it online yet. So there's even something there to see that's not just visible online at this point as well. So it's fun to be able to have a place to engage in that type of thing on a regular basis for people who are equally interested in the Lego hobby, who come into kind of one of the highlights of the founders event was you could get first crack at some bulk Lego, and there was quite a bit of bulk Lego in there. So a lot of people were spending time picking out um, all the best parts. I did not see any Mtron magnets inside any of the bulk that was there, but I did look and got myself a fair amount of parts that I usually find useful. So you can see here I've got Technic beams and orange and dark orange and dark red and dark gray, all the parts that I like to use. I didn't fill up the bag nearly as much as I could have, um, but I had to head out to get back here to do the live stream with everybody. So I didn't get a chance to fully fill up my bag, but it was still a good time for sure. Normally, I would now spend the next 20-ish minutes talking about whatever build Mark has, but Mark's not here. So that means we can move instantly into some of the Lego set leaks. And there have been a few that we can pull up, but I'm going to need everybody's help when I pull these up with what they think of them. So hopefully, Rob and Team B and Bill and the orphanage and anyone else who's snuck on the stream can let me know what they think of some of these builds. So this first leak apparently came from um, Amazon Mexico, and it is the 3-in-1 forest animal red fox. Is that what it says up there? Forest animals red fox, yes. So I think this set looks really nice. I don't know how great the articulation is because they look like they're not using ball joints. They might be using one back here in the tail, but they look, at least for the knees, like they're using clicking joints. So I'm not sure what they're using up in the hips. So maybe we won't have as much motion as we would in some other ones. But it appears the main color is dark orange, which is one of my favorite colors. It's not the newer tomato soup color, I don't think. I think it is dark orange, or at least that's my suspicion. But still a color that I very much love. Um, and lots of slopes and tiles in that color that I really like. So this set excites me, at least. Um, if it's priced right, and it's 667 pieces, so say it's a $50 set. I think it's definitely a multiple type purchase for me when I have money to burn, um, or they come up as uh, uh, on clearance and things of that nature. Brick Orphanage says that he does not believe that the fox is rabid, so that's a bonus, I guess. And that the fox is cute, and I agree. The other alternate builds on this one are also decent. We've got an owl here sitting on a tree with kind of like a snowy base. So I think that one's pretty good too. And then a squirrel. Look how cute that little squirrel is holding the acorn. The squirrel looks like he's got some pretty decent articulation, actually, in his arms and in his tail. Um, maybe even more so than the fox. I don't know. Kind of the fox has had the same sort of perched look in all of the pictures. So it's really hard for me to judge just how much articulation the fox truly has. But there we see another lifestyle shot here of the fox. Also, lots of these green stem pieces. So if you're into these particular colors, and I assume this is a tree stump here, and it looks pretty good, actually. Some of the build technique on this looks interesting. So I think this will end up being a fairly popular set. I think it's well done. Bill says, I would display the squirrel in my office. Okay. Yeah, I think it's probably office worthy. I think it's up there with that tiger they came out with and the new giraffe. I haven't built the giraffe yet, but I have it somewhere down here. That new 3-in-1 giraffe that just came out also looks really good and might be display worthy. I'm just going to say that Reed likes the squirrel. I haven't asked him, but I feel confident there. Well, that's good to know. Maybe he's a big squirrel guy. That wouldn't surprise me. Maybe it's a very he likes. Of course, he's a big Chima guy, so maybe he's into all kinds of animal heads and faces, and maybe a squirrel faction would have been perfect for him. I don't know. But I think these are all pretty well done, and I actually think that this will be popular. And I know I like it. So if it's priced right, I think it'll be a exciting exciting round of sets to get. And this is one of those rare ones where I think all three of the creatures in the 3-in-1 build are probably worth building. Normally, I think the main model's the only one that's exciting enough, and the other ones are a lot of times they're going I think all three of these are actually pretty good, and I actually really like the owl. I think it's cute as well. I don't know specifically if there's an owl that's got this exact sort of coloration on it, but I'm not going to sweat it. I think it's super cute. Um, so, and then of course, Brick Orphanage, pun intended, gives us a he goes nuts for squirrels. So there you go. So he's nutty for squirrels. I think he's just nutty, period. But I'll take nutty for squirrels as well. Then we've also had announcements on some special Star Wars sets. The 25-year anniversary for Lego and Star Wars. I actually remembered the first Lego Star Wars sets. They came out for Episode 1, sort of when Lego and Star Wars hooked up there. And they had some classic trilogy sets that came out as well along the same line. So it was in 1998. I was still in high school at the time, and I actually was able to miss a day of school to go see Episode 1, which was a big deal. My parents, my mom in particular, was a school teacher, and she wasn't a big fan of the idea of missing school, even though I was in high school and I had really good grades. Missing a day of school to go see a movie. I also stopped at Walmart when I was out seeing this movie because the town I grew up in did not have a lot of sources for Lego, believe it or not. And the internet purchasing, shop at home was a thing, but Amazon wasn't big yet. So it was somewhat difficult to get Lego sets, especially when they were new releases. So I had a very fun time going and picking up some new sets as well as going to this movie, which was Episode 1. So that would have came out 1998-ish, which makes sense for a 25th anniversary. So one of the other things they're doing with the 25th anniversary is they are producing some of these very exciting, I will say, exclusive minifigures. And the one in this set is Darth Malak. You can see down here. So they have a nice R2D2. They also have a second R2D2 minifig over here. I don't know how many brick-built versions of R2D2 we've gotten now. It's at least 3 plus a Technic one. Maybe someone can correct me on that. But it's been quite a number. But yet we have another one. Scale-wise, this one doesn't look too enormous. I don't know how it compares to some of the other ones. It's definitely not in scale with, say, the BB-8 one that came out. I think this one's too small to be in scale with BB-8. They also have a BD-1 from the Star Wars Jedi Survivor series, which is definitely not in scale with R2 as either. But 1,000 pieces and a cool Darth Malak exclusive figure. I don't have any of the brick built R2D2s yet. I probably won't buy this one either, but Darth Malak, he might be a little expensive to find at the Bricks and Minifig store, but maybe I'll check it out, right? So here is an additional shot here. You can see R2's got some of his accessories popped out here. And there's the Darth Malak figure, as well as the R2D2 plaque. And of course, they did something similar to this for the 20-year anniversary, the 20th anniversary, with these sort of stands that were built the same way. So nice to see they're kind of bringing that back or continuing that. So another exciting set of new and crazy minifigures to kick off the 25-year. So let's see here. Brick Orphanage says R2 looks to be about half to 2/3 the size of the previous one. Yeah, so not as big, which is maybe better if you have limited space. This one's 1,000 pieces. I'm going to pull this out of the screen for a second here and see what the current R2D2 figure is, because I know I've still seen it around, and see what the part count is on that one. R2D2 sculpture, I guess we'd call it. I think the current one is probably in the maybe 1,600 piece range. I don't know. But when I find it here, we'll find out. In terms of sets, okay, so I have it up here. It looks like they have a Technic one, a UCS one, and then a sculpture one. So 3 different ones in addition to the one that we're getting now. And let's see here. So the current one, let's see, this was released in 2021. So this is the one indeed. It was 2,310 pieces. So over twice as many pieces in the previous iteration. And here's what it looks like. I'll pull it up on Brickshelf here. So this one's quite a bit bigger here, at over 2,300 pieces. So I was right. It looks like this new one will be a 3rd iteration of the brick-built sculpture, in addition to the Technic one that we had a long time ago. They did several Technic droid type things a few years back. Great thing about R2D2 is non-AFLs don't think it's odd to have Lego displayed in your living room. Yeah, that's true. One of the sculptures a few years ago that came out, they had the Yoda with the movable eyes. I thought he was almost looked like he was wearing glasses with the way that they had built the Yoda sculpture. But you could like move his eyes around, and I actually thought he was quite creepy. This is the one that I'm talking about here. Let me pull this one up. So sort of from a distance, it almost looks like he's got these black rings around his eyes, almost like he's wearing glasses. So while the R2D2 set for non-A falls might not seem too bad, I don't know how people would feel about this Yoda with his creepy eyes. But yeah, another sculpture. I did like the Grogu version. They also had Grogu. Super cute. There's Grogu holding the ball for the end or the tip of the Mandalorian steering joystick. You can see here he's got a little bit of spacing around his eyes, but they're not nearly as glasses-like or as creepy as the one for poor Yoda. He also has these super cute ears, and he just looks so cute and cuddly with his little mouth and his little button nose. So I think he was absolutely adorable. He ended up going on sale eventually as well, and of course a good selection both of sand green and a lot of decent parts for building bases for castles and whatnot in dark tan. So a good parts pack this Baby Yoda was. Listen to that. Even said it like Yoda would say it. A good parts pack Baby Yoda is. Okay, so that's what we're getting for one of the sets. The other one is kind of interesting, and that would be the boarding of the blockade runner. So this seems like an unusual set to have. I guess they've done a number of these sort of play sets before that are just kind of hallways. They've done, a Death Star cannon in a hallway. They've done the Dark Trooper set, which was just sort of set in a hallway. So I don't know. I'm getting kind of tired of that. I guess what's a little bit different, at least, is that this hallway is not completely gray. It's got a bunch of white in it. So that's a little different. The exclusive trooper in this one is ARC Trooper 5s. So from the Clone Wars, 55555. Kind of interesting that I think the 20th anniversary set minifigs were all callbacks to earlier versions of the classic minifigs that came out in the first line. This year, the 25 or 25th year exclusive minifigs are not that at all. They are definitely off the beaten path type, expanded world type people. Obviously, Clone Wars is now canon, so Fives is canon, but maybe not necessarily the first figure you would think of to be produced in a set. So another, I think it's a well detailed uh, build there. I also think that the Rebel Troopers are pretty decent. They even gave this particular trooper Captain Antilles. They even gave him a name. Couple of stormtroopers. I'm sure this is one of the helmet variants. You know, the one where you can't really turn his head side to side that people hate, but it's whatever iteration of stormtrooper helmet they're on now. I like that they're dual molded, but I don't typically get too worked up about which version of the stormtrooper helmet we're on now. In terms of building techniques and building pieces, I see some nice slopes in here in white. Um, and it's 500 pieces. So 500 pieces and 7 minifigs if you include the exclusive. So I have a feeling that this won't be super cheap. Um, so maybe it won't be the greatest parts pack or battle pack ever. But it has a couple of generic stormtroopers, several rebel troopers. I'm sure it'll be somewhat popular for army builders unless it's very expensive or it's out of line. But I like I said, with 7 minifigs, I have a suspicion this isn't going to be $50. It'll be more, and maybe that will sort of lower the desire to use it. Also, again, I'm not an expert on Star Wars figs, but we've got a different bit of armor here for the shoulders on this one. So I don't know if this is a particularly interesting or attractive figure, but I'm sure there are a lot of people who like it. There's a lot of printing here, and it's kind of strange because the shoulder pads also went down into like a front chest piece in the show, and you can see here it's printed. So we've got it partially printed and then partially on the actual shoulders. And it's not like it's unusual for Lego to just do printing to represent armor, but it is a little strange when it's sort of the hybrid here, where it's actually part of it's actually a mold and part of it's just printed on the chest. Um, so I don't know. I think it's a decent set. Like I said, just like anything, this one depends on the price, but it's decent from a figure selection and the fact that it's got different colors other than just gray. But I don't know that I would say that this is a beautiful sculpture. This is definitely one that I probably wouldn't even build once. I would just get it literally for the parts and troopers. Never even Probably wouldn't even see if there's techniques that I like in it. Quite honestly, I don't even know that I would build it once. I mean, that's more typical for me is build something once then take it apart. Not sure this would even cross up or into the build once category. I would probably go straight into the parts bin. I'm sure that the figures though would go well in a brick shell case, right? A box of boys um, type situation here. The Vader helmet. I don't know if this is a old or similar mold to what they've done before. It looks at this particular angle a little different. Hell, look at this. Got ACOB in here. Hearing me say box of boys just gets the blood pumping. So I guess we can see what ACOB thinks about this one. So I'm sure, being a Star Wars and box of boys lover, perhaps this one's got some attraction. But ACOB, what do you think? Is it going to depend on the price, or is this a full price Jones first day buy type thing for the Star Wars fans out there? While you're answering that, I can drop this out quick because I'm trying to open up my Instagram account to take a look at something, but it is being difficult. Here we go. Um, Mark also pinged me while on the plane because he was very excited that that there was going to be a couple of additional uh, Animal Crossing sets this summer that he believed that he had heard had leaked out. So I was going to see if I checked my Instagram leaks if I could spot some of these at. So if I could see if I could find these absolutely sneaky Animal Crossing sets. In terms of the Star Wars set, ACOB says, "I love it. Not buying more than two unless we see a major deal." Yeah, I mean that's exactly I think what what I was saying. There was 7 figures and 500 pieces. I can't imagine it's going to be $50. It'll probably be quite a bit more. 50 is already um, maybe expensive for just a hallway, but the 7 figures I think is probably what most people are after on that. But maybe grab some Stormies and Rebels off Bricklink or a place like Bricks and Minifigs if you have one nearby. Yeah, they might see a nice flood of those in there. And like I said, I don't know which version of the Stormtrooper that is or if it's a desirable one. It could be, the one that nobody wants because they hate the helmet or whatever the case is. Um, I didn't mind the sort of the changes, and helmets have always been, like really oversized on everybody anyway. But when they get the dual molding and things like that in there, I usually think it's pretty good. ACOB says the price is going to be $54.99. I think that's about right. It's close to 10 cents per part, which is what we usually try to shoot for. And again, 7 figures and a good variety of figures. So I think it'll be pretty popular. And I mean, the army builder sets now, just the regular battle packs are up around the $30 mark regularly. So I don't know. It seems like I said, it seems about right. I don't know that I'm going to buy 40 of them or 2 of them or 3 of them either. But I might get one at 55. Um, it's probably good enough to warrant buying it. Um, whether or not it's a full price buy or wait for it to come down a little bit, who's to say? Um, but I do think it's a worthy pickup. Let's see here. Unfortunately for Mark, I am seeing some some additional leaked images, but I don't know if they are the actual summer version of the Animal Crossing sets or if they're just the March ones and I haven't paid enough attention, right? I mean, I guess that's sort of the way it works with some of this. But Mark was also telling me there was a particular site that may have them, so I'm going to sneak out there and see while we're talking here. So let's see. ACOB's sort of given the opinion uh, on that Blockade Runner hallway set. Anybody else have any thoughts on that one? Are they excited for any of the exclusive minis? Those are 2 sets that we've seen. I think they've announced another Star Wars set that I haven't looked at yet. Some version of a Black Millennium Falcon or something that we haven't talked about that might be interesting as well. So while I'm looking for that here, anyone else have any opinions on any of the new sets? We got a lot of people saying they thought the fox was cute. I agree. But really the question becomes the Star Wars ones, are they worth it or is it a hard pass? Because like I said, um, the sets themselves, they're not they're not strikingly beautiful. We've got 3 versions of R2D2 already, and this one's smaller. But if they're priced right and you like the exclusive minifigs, they might be a buy anyway. So yeah, $55 for the Tantive 4 sets. Is that how you even say that? I don't even know. That's why I would just say Blockade Runner. That way you can um, get it right, even if you're uh, not sure exactly how to say the name of the silly ship. But $55 for a hallway. I guess we'll see. Let's see here. Yeah, the other set I wanted to cover is. Still excited for those March releases. Can't wait to get the space stuff, the Technic space stuff. But not March yet, so we're gonna have some mock time in between where I can actually get some of my own building done, since I am not spending time building a bunch of new Lego up until that comes out. But as soon as I get those, I'm gonna have to get those to see the new colors and the new panels and the Technic pieces, and see what kind of fun functions they have. Even though, as I've stated, like my Technic skills aren't such that I'm knowing exactly how these things get built. Yeah, let me open this one up here. Okay, and I'm seeing the names of some of the other sets that they're planning to release in the Star Wars line. Don't have pictures for any of them yet, but we have a buildable destroyer droid. How that'll line up with the uh, size of the R2D2, I don't know. There's also one called Grogu's Escape. That sounds exciting. And a Bunta Eve Pod Race diorama. So that one could be interesting as well. So a couple more names, but no pictures yet on those. Yeah, I don't have pictures from any of the other Star Wars sets. So no one else has really given me too much comment. The other Star Wars set, Mark and I didn't really spend a lot of time talking about it. But like I mentioned, battle packs are in the $30 range now regularly. So this is the one that just came out on January 1, and I know it was limit one per household type deal. I think it was for all new sets though, on January 1 at the Lego store. But they're still producing Clone Wars army packs. And here's the one that we had here. So this one here is actually got 9 figures, $30, but the build's significantly less substantial than the boarding of the blockade runner. But if you're into army building, this might be more attractive to you than the boarding one. I don't know how many versions of the Super Battle Droid we've gotten now. I don't know if this is a new version either, but another uh, Super Battle Droid set here. Never really loved this particular design since it's all one mold for the entire upper body and head. And I know that's kind of what the Super Battle Droids look like, but they just kind of looked so. They remind me of like the jelly aliens from the Mars lines, that they're almost kind of stiff and comical, and that they don't have a lot of articulation. Though you can use these droid arms, I'm sure, just like you can use the droid arms for the battle droids, for a number of mock purposes. But also don't like that they don't hold any weapons. I know the super battle droids, was built into their arm or whatever, but they just don't look intimidating in this fashion. At least that's my opinion. So you could pay $30 for this army builder, or $50 for the blockade runner instead. Let's see if we missed anything else in the new releases that we need to cover. I know a lot of people are excited for Harry Potter. None of the sets that I've seen so far have really been exciting to me. If you're into tan, and you're into building the entire Super Duper Hogwarts by combining all of the sets, perhaps you'll be excited for some of those. But as we mentioned, we're on like version 16 of Hagrid's Hut. We also have just a couple more towers. We have an owlry, owlery. It's a place where you train owls, as well as that boathouse that we kind of ripped a bit when we first saw it. Um, so you've got that to look forward to in March as well. I didn't see what I was looking for. Online with these new sets, but apparently there are some leaks out there for a few additional sets that maybe we'll be able to talk about in a episode soon. But no photos that I think are worth sharing at this time. So last time I talked to Mark, he was over Indianapolis about an hour ago. Hopefully he's on the ground and he had a good vacation. He told me that, and perhaps this always happens to him, there was some speculation today when I was talking to a few other people who know Mark, that he always gets sick when he goes on vacation. He told me he had 100-degree fever at the end of his vacation. So maybe he caught what I had a couple weeks ago while he was on his cruise, but hopefully he recovers. And we'll have some new set news to talk about next week. I did a little bit of work on the Spider Mech, but I hope to get some more done on it. I've got all 8 legs touching the ground, so he feels nice and substantial. On Saturday, I will be at Bricks and Minifigs in Roseville. For anyone in Minnesota, anyone on Replay Gang who catches this who's in Minnesota, you'll probably want to come to see Caleb Schilling instead of me, since he's an actual Lego master and he's there. But come out to the store. There's a few mocks there, like I mentioned, and I'll be there as well. If you happen to live somewhere in Minnesota and you're excited that we're getting additional Lego stores. As I had already mentioned, like and subscribe to the stream. Hopefully next week when Mark's here, we'll be able to go a little longer. When it's just me, it's not as easy to have the same back and forth that ends up taking 2 or 3 hours as we typically do. But hopefully we will be able to have a good time next week and catch up with a few additional Lego leaks, especially if Mark can find them. Let's see here. Brick Orphanage says on delay. The Tantive said is my favorite scene in all of Star Wars, but not a big vignette buyer. So it's a maybe. Yeah, it's a maybe even at what I think's a fairly attractive price for at least the parts and minifigs you're getting. But like I said, in terms of would you buy it for a model or to display? Probably not. So while we're running a bit of a short show today, we always like to remind you when you're building your own mocks, there are no mistakes when you're building mocks, only happy accidents. That's what we were told by Bob Ross. Bob Ross is never wrong. He builds happy little trees. I build happy little trees. He says, no mistakes, only happy accidents. Couldn't agree more with my friend Bob. Let's see. When we go out today, what are we going to do? Let's do a little bit of this one. I love that. Here's better than any other one we've seen, because they're not just animated characters added in. They're like flat stickers with white outlines just playing in the pool. It's like, well, you don't get any minifigs, but you can pretend with sticker people. And the sticker people don't even come with the set. They're just, showing you like what you could pretend that these exciting friends are doing at the Cherry Vitality Beach.
Here's what you can do. Vitality water bar drink to your heart's content, which is definitely excellent grammar. Water curtain door. It opens. That's great. There's a leisure section.
You'd want it to do that.
There's a life-saving observation spot. There's a swim shop. Stand in the observatory to enjoy the breathtaking view. The exciting and funny water slide. sit in the beach chair and enjoy sunbath.
Sunbath. Yep.
Yes, lockers.
But here's my favorite. The ice cream van, baby. That's a van.
Why is there a fish on it?
That is the coolest van I've ever seen. Yeah, what is that fish for? I have no idea.
Go into the shower room to wash the sand off your body.
Well, it's a good suggestion.
Ooh, look, they made different flag molds. Or they photoshopped in something and folded it.
One last little parting note. If I didn't say this, Mark might get mad at me. But because of some scheduling issues, we're moving the Facebook stream to its own separate group. So anyone who's watching or has watched us on Facebook, there will be a Think Outside the Blocks Facebook group. Join that if you want to catch the live stream on Facebook. Otherwise, of course, you can always catch us on Facebook, on YouTube. Every week at about 7 o'clock on Sundays. Hopefully Mark will be here next week. Have a good night, everyone.